So I'm here today with my guest, Ed Sheahin. Ed is a NFL photographer. He's worked for the Washington Redskins for the last several years, and he's done some other things in the world of sports. Ed is also a big Pittsburgh Pirate fan, so there's something he and I share in common when we quietly do that. Let's talk just a second about the Pirates, since you're a diehard Pirate fan. What's going on there, Ed, in your opinion?
They exist to produce players for other teams. I mean, it's disappointing. They get what they can out of them for 4 or 5 years, and then when they're ready to get the big money, they move on. And it's been like that since Bonds left, and it's been very difficult to really buy into what they're doing. But, I mean, they're making money. They're part of that profit sharing, and they just put a product on the field to – it's almost like a AAA team within a major league system. And it shouldn't be that way. And baseball's got to change that. I know they want the Yankees to win every other year or whatever because it's good for – but that's not the way it should work.
You think a salary cap would help a team like the Pirates, or at least a spending floor? Because they don't even – their payroll is projected at around $50 million this year, which there are a lot of teams that have 2 or 3 players combined making at least $50 million.
Yeah. Between Pujols and Trout, I think they're making more with the Anaheim Angels. I don't know if the salary cap is the answer because they want the Yankees to always be there. It's big for baseball, so they're not going to cap the Yankees. What they can do to make it fair is break up the divisions and put the lower budget teams in one division, but the higher budget teams in another division. So at least you have a chance every year. If the Pirates were competing against the Reds and the Brewers, and I don't think the Cardinals and Cubs should be in there. They got way more money to spend. But then maybe you throw in the Padres and maybe the Marlins in that one division.
Okay.
And, maybe every 3 or 4 years you make a run at it, But they haven't done anything since the early 80s. And Pirate fans still go. It's a beautiful stadium. I went for the first time in the existence of the stadium about 2 years ago. I went twice, and I had such a good time there. It's such a beautiful stadium, and I walked all the way around, and it just took photos all day. Loved it. Would do it again and again and again. And I think Pirate fans just go to escape, what's going on in the world and sit and relax, have a hot dog, a beer or soda, whatever, enjoy time with the kids, and watch the Pirates. Win or lose, they're still there to cheer them on. But eventually you got to win and put a product on the field that can contend.
That's got to be your MO, though. And I don't know if the current ownership group is about winning, but we'll find out. Hey, let's get into a little bit more about you. Why sports photography? What took you down that road? What interested you about it?
Well, as you know, as a former football coach, I was covering high school sports for a local newspaper and started my own little sports magazine. And I did a feature on you and your team, your Rockville Rams at the time. And I just enjoyed covering sports. I had a real 9-to-5 job and wanted more out of life. I didn't want to do banking, mortgage banking my whole life.
Yeah.
It paid the bills, but man, I dreaded getting up every day. So I did something that I wanted to do and loved. I did that on my own spare time. And, what started off as just doing it on the side, I entered a contest with Bleacher Report just on a whim to write for the Redskins, to cover the Redskins beat for CBS Sports. Went up against 2,500 other people, and mine was the best, I guess. They picked me, and I covered the team for a year in 2009 as a beat reporter for the CBS Sports.com Rapid Reports. They were horrible that year, 3-13, I believe, or 4-12 with Jim Zorn's final year. It was a nightmare. But, it wasn't for me. I didn't enjoy the beat. You basically watch practice for 15, 20 minutes, and then you got to go inside and sit and wait for practice to end. Then you interview the coaches and some of the players, and then you leave. And it just wasn't enjoyable for me. So after that 1 year, I got it back, into photography a little bit. It's right when they came out with the digital cameras, and so I kind of got a jump on everybody else, invested in a digital camera, started covering high school sports, some college sports for a local newspaper. We got into the Redskins and, photographing their games in 2011, I believe it was. And, I just built relationships and met a lot of people, and it's a lot about who you know, and ended up as the Redskins historian photographer. A lot of it's skill. You got to have some skills and timing and everything, and know what to look for and anticipate. But a lot of it, again, it's who you know and who you make friends with, and how you keep and nurture those relationships.
Yeah. So would you say it was a particular event aside from the Bleacher Report thing, or was it a person who inspired you to actually enter that contest, or just because you were passionate about it?
Just passionate about sports, man. I wanted to do it, and I entered and won. I mean, I didn't think I was going to win. I got a call out of the blue. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? I mean, I thought my writing was pretty good. I was a pretty good writer, but I didn't think I was that good. And, I talked about all the old Redskins traditions and what excited me, some of my best memories, some of the best players that I enjoyed, watching on TV. And they liked what I wrote about, and I won.
That's excellent. It's so gratifying too when you get to take something you're passionate about and put it into play as like kind of a career type of move. In an essence, I mean, I get where you're coming from. So, how long have you been the Redskins? What is it, historian, photographer?
Yeah, I met Mike Richmond's the Redskins historian. He wrote the Redskins Encyclopedia. He's done a book with Joe Gibbs before. He's working on one now with on George Allen that's supposed to come out in 2021. And Mike and I became friends up in the booth the year I was covering the team in 2009 on the beat, and we stayed friends. And I asked him one year, I was like, hey, you need a photographer to capture all these photos? And he's like, yeah, I do. That way he doesn't have to go around asking people for photos and getting permission and all that. So I've been covering the team. I've covered every game, at home anyway, not on the road, since that time, since 2012. And, I give him photos. He writes about them on Facebook, and you can follow Mike Richmond on Facebook if you get a chance, if you're interested. My photos are on my website, Sports Spotlight. It's Sports Spotlight .smugmug, SMUG.com.
Okay.
And you can see my Redskins photos there. And, through my photography ventures, I met a lot of other photographers that I get along with. And we started our own little group called APR, All Pro Reels. And right now we're covering all sports, the Nationals, the Redskins, the Wizards, the Capitals, and even some college, and even some non-sports. And we're trying to grow our little APR business, and it's taken off, and hopefully you'll hear about us. We're starting off slow, but we're building, and hopefully we'll have a good team together that we can start selling to the big boys one day.
I was going to say it has to be just a little bit slow right now because of no sports. In essence, everything is in about a month. Everything is going to kick back up, but you're not going to be allowed to be there to photograph it. But like you said, it starts out slow. And sometimes it's easier and better if it starts out slow. That way you can evaluate what you're doing and make your adjustments before it actually explodes. And knowing your work, I'm sure things are going to inevitably take off for you. You also, like when we talked earlier, you talked about being the photographer for the hog farmers. Who are they, and how does your work get used by them?
Well, the hog farmers are a group of Redskin fans. Chris Bryant and DJ. Sorry, I screwed that up.
It's all right, man.
Yeah. And Jeff Reinhart. And what we do is we they dress up like remember the old Hogettes,
Yeah.
Redskins? Well, they're kind of like the newer version of them.
Okay.
And they dress up in their Redskin gear, and it's kind of outrageous. And but what they do is they focus on fundraising for pediatric cancer kids.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So they they do charity work. Some of the Redskin players donate photos, autograph photos, and jerseys, what have you, and they auction them off or do other events to unload the items for charity money. And it's worked out pretty well. They raise about anywhere between $6,000 to $10,000 a year, and then they buy a bunch of care packages and send them off to parents who are going to children's hospitals throughout the country, trying to deal with all the issues of having a child with cancer. And in those packages, they include gas cards, food store cards, some stuff for the kids. That they find out what the kids like to do, because they're locked in a hospital for months.
Yeah.
And it's just one big care package, and then usually it includes a jersey of their favorite player, or even a Hog Farmers jersey, which is kind of like a Redskin color jersey, but it's personalized with the Hog Farmers logo and has a kid's name on the back sometimes. Okay. So they do different stuff, but it's just to let them know that we're here and we care for them. And I photograph the Hog Farmers at the games and stuff, and try to get them some notoriety. And this is only the second year, so they're slowly taking off, and the Redskins know who they are, the team officials, and they, you'll see them on the scoreboard a lot during commercial breaks or game breaks, because the camera crews know who they are. So it's nice. They're slowly building. They're nowhere near where the Hogettes were, who used to raise millions of dollars for charity, and hopefully the Hog Farmers will get there. It takes a while. It just takes a while.
I think just doing that and you giving your time to photograph for them is spectacular. And if every professional sports organization had a group of people that were willing to give back like that, it would make the games be viewed in a different way. Oftentimes, especially with the NFL, all we hear about are the negative things that come out. This guy has done this, that guy has done that. This organization has done this. I want to hear these good stories like you just told. That's really, a heartwarming story. Listening to someone tell you a story, though, will help you paint a clear picture in your mind. But looking at your photos enables you to create your own dialogue and story. What exactly are you trying to capture when you're taking photos?
I'm just trying to get good action shots. And what I try to do is anticipate the play. Obviously looking at the field situation and what down it is, and just knowing kind of what the coaches like to call in certain situations, who they like to go to. And then I look at the formation as they come up to the line, and I'm not always right, but I can generally guess where the ball's going. And then, I try to anticipate, who's going to get the ball, and whether it's a pass or run, and try to capture that moment, whether, there may be 5 or 6 big plays in a game, and you got to stay locked in because you don't want to miss that. And that's what I try to do. And sometimes you are in the wrong position. There's just nothing you can do about it. You're on one side of the field and it happens way on the other side of the field. And, good luck to all those guys on that side. I missed that one.
Right.
But sometimes you get the big play and it comes right at you. And I'd say 7 out of 10 times I'm usually in the right spot.
I don't think people quite realize that your job as a photographer is a little bit different than a lot of other people out on that field who are working a game. You're right. You kind of have to be in the right spot at the right time to grab that photo. I mean, I've seen, so many great photos. I go back to Santonio Holmes when he scored that game-winning touchdown, and, the guy that got the picture of him on the sidelines, toes inside, inside the goal. It was spectacular. You know, that guy was right place, right
Right,
time.
right spot, right time, and he was ready, and that's the whole key. You got to be ready. You know, you could have 3 or 4 different lenses and cameras there waiting to take a photo, and you know, if Ben decides to turn around and go the other way, he doesn't get the shot. Somebody else does on the other side of the field. So, you know, he was sitting there ready, had his wide-angle lens, and he was sitting there, and the play happened right in front of him. And sometimes photographers miss it because they have the wrong camera and lens up. And you know, it's anticipation, a lot of it. Just like I couldn't do wedding photos, you know, or I can't do bar mitzvahs, or or wedding receptions. You know, every photographer has their own skill set and talent, and you have to have certain equipment also to do those certain things. A wedding photographer has great equipment and everything, but if you put them at a football game, they have no clue what they're doing. They'll take and they'll get a few nice shots just because of the equipment, because
Sure.
the equipment's key too. But timing and anticipation has a lot to do with it. And also, you're dealing with a lot of stuff on the sidelines. I don't think people are aware, but you really only have between the 20 and 20 to shoot. And then on those sidelines, you have the chain gangs, you have the television people with, you know, waving their arms, and you have the cheerleaders on the sideline. You don't have a lot of space, and there's not a lot of moving. And usually you find a spot, you tuck yourself in there, and you hope the action comes your way. But, you know, it's not as easy as everybody thinks it is.
You ever get run over?
No, actually, I haven't, fortunately, because I don't want to get destroyed, but I had a buddy that did. It was actually, I think it was RG3's game where I think he broke his leg or ankle against Jacksonville, and it was on that play. RG3 was running to the sideline, and the defender for the Jacksonville Jaguars who tackled him kind of rolled, and he was still taking shots of the action, and the guy rolled right up and kind of undercut his legs, and he went head first into the ground, but he kept his camera up, protected his camera. So that was first priority. But yeah, I haven't, but it was funny because they replayed it on the big screen, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, oh my God, please don't be Gary. Please don't. And sure enough, it was him.
Did he, a serious injury?
Everything's fine. He actually got out of embarrassment, you hop right up, and I don't care how bad it hurts you. You act like you're the toughest guy in the world at that point.
Yeah, I would agree. So you've reported and you've photographed. Which do you like better and why?
Oh, photography, easy. Writing is it's just too much work. It's very repetitive. You feel like you're writing the same thing over and over again sometimes, and asking the same questions. And photography, every game, every situation is different. The lighting's even different depending whether it's sunny or raining or snowing or whatever. Every single game is different. Every single play is different. So, and then it's up to you to be creative to find and anticipate where that shot's going to be. And, you got to find that spot. And
I know you said you cover almost every game at home. On the road, do you have a particular place that you go to that you like photographing at? Any other stadium?
Well, it's funny. I went to Minnesota this year for the first time. Never shot indoors before. That was an experience. Nice stadium. Not the greatest thing in the world. It's in a area that's not that great, but it's a beautiful stadium, and the acoustics in there are incredible. You can't hear yourself think, it's that loud. So there's a great advantage for them there.
Right.
But yeah, it was nice. It's comfortable weather. You don't have to worry about, whether it's too hot or too cold or rainy. You shoot at the same settings the whole game, and it makes life a little easier. But yeah, it was a nice experience. I would say that was interesting for me, shooting an indoor game.
Any division games you like shooting better than others? For example, you like shooting the Redskins in Dallas or the Redskins and the Giants?
It used to be Redskins Cowboys, but man, it's been a one-sided rivalry, and it's just not. I almost feel like I'm walking into those games knowing what the result's going to be.
Right.
The Eagles games are always pretty good, whether you're up in Philly or here, because the fans, very rowdy, and the Eagles have been filling up FedEx halfway through, the last couple of years. So,
yeah.
It's not the same. It won't be the same, and they just need to get out of that stadium.
Yeah. Let's see how things pan out now with the change of name and how people bring money back to the table for them, and they potentially could do that. What's your experience been like photographing the Nationals? What like I know you did that for a while.
Well, the biggest thing with that,
you started back when Harper came.
Yeah, that was his rookie year. I covered him, and that was a big thrill just because the hype over him and everything. I'm not going to bash the guy, but he just, he wasn't a real people person. He was focused on baseball only, and I had one photo of him that went viral. It was on ESPN. It was all over the place. Everybody was carrying it. He came out. I think it was his second year, maybe his third year. I don't know, but you could tell he was lifting, and he got all bulked up and everything. So he had this real tight T-shirt on, and he walked out with 2 Girl Scout cookie boxes, and the whole headline was, "We know the secret to Bryce's success." So the Girl Scout cookies thing took off, and that probably helped the Girl Scouts a lot. But that photo went viral, and that was fun for me.
That's awesome. Any other games stand out to you that you photographed?
Just being around those guys. They're good guys. They got what they deserved last year. They are a bunch of good guys. They're not the friendliest guys in the world as far as coming up and putting an arm around anybody or anything, but they're just good, wholesome people. And they work hard. They're blue-collar guys, and they deserve that World Series last year. They worked hard for it. I think it was even more special to them since it was the year that Bryce Harper left them, and everybody thought, well, they're done. And one player doesn't make a team, and sometimes even a great player hurts a team because of just the tension in the locker room and everything. And I'm not saying Bryce was a locker room problem, but maybe he was, and maybe that things were relaxed and things got better for the team, and they played better and they played looser. I don't know.
It's funny because they really didn't put that hard of a push on to re-sign him. I remember seeing him play up in Hagerstown. I took my son to see him play, and you go back to the way you talk about baseball players and how they are. He carried himself in a different way up there, even, which was a little disappointing because usually those minor league guys, especially at the A, low A, double A, those guys are usually really good with the kids, and he's a heck of a baseball player, but in terms of the way he interacts with the fans, at least at the game, I was a little disappointed in that. Now, I will tell you, we had a young lady at Northwest who had some medical issues, and through Make-A-Wish, she got to go down to the Nationals facility. She met him. He was fantastic with her. But, on that side of it, was it because he had to be, or was that truly who he was? You got to ask yourself that question.
Yeah. I don't think he's a bad person. I just think that at an early age, he was on a pedestal and he had to learn how to say no to a lot of people. And that's how he approached things, because people are going to try to milk you for everything. And
Right.
he had to learn to focus on Bryce Harper and not worry about everybody else. And, that's good to a point, but, I can't imagine being 17 or whatever he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Right.
I mean, just that type of notoriety at that young age has got to be very difficult, because it kind of sets you up the rest of your life.
I don't know if you can compare him to Mike Trout, though, because I think Mike Trout is a little bit a little bit more well-rounded of a player who we watch Stewart year in and year out. So
He kind of came out of no. I mean, I think the Angels knew what they had, but nobody else really knew.
right.
And he kind of came out of nowhere, so there wasn't a ton of pressure on him. So it was easy for him to kind of take off. And I love Mike Trout. I mean, I love watching him play. He's one of my favorite players, and I think he even though LA is kind of a tough market, the Anaheim Angels, they're not the team. It's the Dodgers that are the team out there. So
Right.
he just didn't have a lot of pressure on him. But he was a great player. He was going to succeed wherever he went. But I think he had a little bit easier road than Bryce did.
Yeah, I'd say you're right. Again, in the last comment on Harper, though, he was in community college playing baseball, I believe, at 16 or 17 years old. So, I mean, he's always had a path that they're trying to shove him down, and he's making big money now playing for Philly. So, is there a particular moment, or should I say a photo, that, in your opinion, captures the essence of your particular style of photographing?
Well, I mean, my most famous photo, and I'm not the only one that got it, but was the RG3 Superman photo when he's diving in against Cincinnati in his I think it was the second game of the year, and he had his arm. I don't know if you saw that photo, but he's diving in, and that photo did a lot for me and kind of got me a lot of notoriety and really helped. And again, I told the guy next to me, I swear to God, I told him, I said, this is going to be a bootleg right, because they were coming at us in the end zone. I said, and RG3 is going to go right for that corner. And sure enough, he did. I anticipated it. I'm not always right, but I just felt that was the situation. And he came right at us, and I got the shot, and I was ready. So part of it was I was proud of my pre-play prep and anticipating that, but also getting the shot too, because sometimes you anticipate and your settings aren't right or whatever, or somebody's in your way. So that was the perfect storm for me, and it worked out well.
Who called that play?
Who called it?
Yeah. Who was the offense coordinator?
Kyle Shanahan, probably.
Yeah. He's done a great job. Discuss one of the most rewarding times while photographing either the Skins or Nationals that you had, aside from maybe that photo or maybe the Bryce Harper one. Just a rewarding time, because you definitely find joy in it. I hear it in your voice.
I think the neatest thing was taking pictures of a 19-year-old Juan Soto that nobody knew of or really anticipated. He was just called up that day, and I happened to be covering that game, and nice as could be. He was signing autographs, talking to the fans. I mean, I think his English was average at best at that time.
Yeah.
But he was still trying to communicate and sign autographs and stuff. But, just grabbing as many photos of him, I had no clue who he was, and just grabbing those shots and then finding out later what he ended up becoming. And he was a big part of the World Series team last year, and that was just kind of neat.
He's a young kid too. I like him, and I like Robles very, very much. I've seen them play in the minor leagues, and they just, you're right. Seeing the young kids play, they just really enjoy what they're doing. So far, and then when the money comes, maybe it'll change a little bit, but they're still enjoying it.
Yeah, I think he's got a good head on his shoulders. His dad's a good guy, it seems. I just think he's down to earth. I think he's very focused on baseball, and I think when everything's said and done, if he's healthy, he'll probably end up having better stats than Harper when, push comes to shove at the very end.
Any particular players from Redskins, Nationals, anybody you photograph hit you up for photos that you've taken of them? You have a relationship with anybody that?
I'm close with a player on the Redskins, his dad, and we talk every game on the field. I'm not going to mention. I don't want to get into all that, but
that's okay.
I developed a relationship with his dad, and we text each other. I ask him where he's standing, and he's been very good to me, and the player has signed a bunch of autographs of my photos that I turn and give to the hog farmers so that they can auction off for charity and stuff. And
Yeah.
he's a good guy, and that's made it very fun for me. I enjoy seeking him out every game.
Oh, that's cool. That's always rewarding for you. All right, I've got one last question. I ask every one of my guests this question. If being a sports photographer, reporting on sports were not a career option, aside from what you do, what would you do in the world of sports?
What would I do without the world of
sports? If you want to be involved in the world of sports, but you can't be a reporter or photographer, what other avenue would you get yourself involved in?
Now, obviously, I'd love to be a GM or a scout, but that takes years and knowing people and doing the grunt work to get to those spots. And at 55, I don't think I could do that now. But if I was younger, I don't know. I would just think being a scout would be fun. I don't know a lot about it, but I see those guys up in the box at football games and stuff. And I mean, they're working their butts off. They're taking notes and writing stuff and communicating. And so it's interesting to watch what they do. I never really see or talk to them, but I know it's not as easy as just sitting there with a bag of popcorn and a soda in your hand and,
right.
Oh, that guy's good. There's more to it. But anyway, that's kind of where I would probably go. I just love sports. I'd love to do just about anything except for maybe coach.
Did you play sports when you were growing up?
Yeah, I played only in high school, football and baseball. I didn't go off to college, got married very young and started a family. So, I went to school after I got married and had kids, but, I still made the most of my life. I had kids very young and was able to still pursue my dreams. I just did it later in life.
Right.
And actually, I don't think I would have been ready in my 20s. And, I just maturity wise and passion wise and skill wise, I just don't think I was ready. So, God had a plan for me, and that was to do it later in life. My three boys are all grown and they have their own families now, so I can do this type of stuff.
I know you're big into those grandkids.
Yeah. 6 of them, 7, number 7's on the way.
That's awesome. Yeah. There is no timestamp though. I mean, you do you. Your life is the way you make it, and when I teach, I always tell them the same thing. There's no timestamp. And for all the kids that tell me that they want to be a professional athlete, I said, it's okay to have a plan B too. You can work in that same field and find a place to be in that field. If you don't, the kid who's 5'8" that wants to be an NBA center, that's probably not going to happen for you, buddy. But, I try to encourage them along the way. Hey, have another direction you want to go, but in the same field. So
it's difficult these days because a lot of these kids want instant success. They want the quick money, and patience and learning and committing to something and building on something and becoming the best person, best employee, best worker, best friend, best coworker you can be it's not the same anymore. And
right.
We probably need to get back to that in this country.
So, social media has played such a large impact on a lot of things, including sports. And you really got to walk a fine line when you're on social media and watch what you say. And, I'm not going to lie. There's been times I've started to respond to people and I erase it completely because I'm recognizing that it gets into cyberspace. It's there forever and it can be impactful. But I don't think young people, and when I say young people, I'm talking about even guys in their 20s and 30s, because I'm 50, they don't think like that. And they'll put it out there and they don't realize the long-term impact. I do this last segment when I have my guests on, and it's called Decade Definers. And I break down individuals or teams from any sport who were either marquee teams or marquee players during a decade. Going back to the 70s. But for you, I'm going to do this a little bit different. I want to get you involved in it. I want you to tell me 5 photos you've taken from any sport that you are most proud of?
Oh, wow. Put me on the spot there. Well, of course, the RG3 one that I told you about.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Bryce Harper photo with the Girl Scout cookies, two of my famous photos. I have a good shot of Bryce Harper hitting a home run on Jackie Robinson Day he's got these special made Jackie Robinson cleats that were kind of cool, and he kind of just froze. I got him staring at the home run with the Jackie Robinson cleats. They really stood out because they were Dodger blue, and that was kind of cool to me, I thought. Uh, being there for Dwayne Haskins' first start in Buffalo,
Okay.
that was big. So I got plenty of shots from that game. That was huge for me. And I would say probably the photo I took of Mike Neubeiser with Northwest football when he's coming out and his tough look. It's both our favorite football photos. So that's for Mike.
Okay. He'll enjoy hearing that, definitely. Hey, one question I did forget to mention or ask you about: how many photos do you take in a game from quarter to quarter? How many photos?
I'll end up,
I should say.
I'll end up taking, I usually use two cameras, two different lenses, my wide angle, my short one. I'll probably only take about 300, and I'll keep maybe 50 of those. And then with my 300 lens, I'll probably take about 2,000, and I'll keep about 500 of those. I probably overkeep, but I don't just shoot the team that I'm covering, which is the Redskins or whatever. I shoot the other team too, because those guys eventually could become Redskin players, or they're in the news for something. So I'm always taking photos of both teams when I cover a game, and the cheerleaders and the fans and the hog farmers and all that. So I stay pretty busy. I don't take time off. I'm out there. I get out on a 1:00 Sunday game. I'm out there at probably 8:30 in the morning on the field, and game will end about 4:15. So that's a pretty long day. And then I'll go home, drive home, get home about 6:30. I'll process at home, and I'll be up till midnight doing the photos. It's a long day, but I love it.
It's a long day. Yeah, I bet. I get it. Hey, I want to thank you a lot again for coming on, Ed. It's been really interesting to me to hear all about your work with the Redskins, your interactions with the Nationals, your top 5 photos. I'm sure Coach Neubeiser will enjoy that. Again, I really appreciate you coming on.
Oh, I enjoy it. And thank you for taking the time to set this up. And hopefully I can help you in the future with future guests.
I appreciate that. You take care now.
All right, Mark.